Hi there and welcome. I'm Jordan from the blog Home and Motherhood, and today I'll be sharing what I wish my parents knew about lichen sclerosus to support me through childhood. As I've mentioned before, I was diagnosed when I was 8, although I think I had lichen sclerosus much earlier on, and at the time there wasn't a lot of knowledge about lichen sclerosus. It was like 1 in 1,000 people had lichen sclerosus, and 1% of that had it during childhood. And I was one of them, and these are just the things I wish my parents would have known to help support me during that challenging time. I have a whole nother video about my lichen sclerosus journey, but just a little backstory. When I had my lichen sclerosus during childhood, I had it very regularly. It was almost always present, and I had 2 very bad breakouts. And so there are just a few things that I really want to communicate to other parents to help their children soothe like that itch for their child and bring comfort and the emotional support that they may need. But I hope this video is helpful to you. So my experience with lichen sclerosus as a child, it was uncontrollably and unbearably itchy. And I would itch and itch and itch until my skin was raw and bloody, and then I would continue to itch because there was nothing I could do to make that itchiness go away. And my doctor even recommended that I go to bed with gloves on just so I wouldn't itch in the middle of the night. But that's not realistic to ask a child to do. Like, that's uncomfortable. You don't want to fall asleep with like mittens on. So I never did that, but I don't think that is very helpful advice. There are other things that I have found to help relieve that itch. And number 1 for a child is to do a cold compress. So if you just grab a washcloth, get it wet with cold water, and let them apply it to their affected area. I like the washcloth just because you can like kind of fold it to like fit in your creases or wherever you need it like really well, and then it's something easy for a child to go get and be able to apply themselves without having like that embarrassment of like telling someone. So I have found the cold compress to be extremely helpful. I have also found that sitz baths with lavender oil and tea tree oil, very helpful. It's like 10 drops lavender oil, 2 drops tea tree oil. You can like do a little bit more, it doesn't really matter. But also on days where I was extremely itchy, using baking soda, like 2 tablespoons of baking soda in that low-lying bath was very helpful to me and soothed that itch. I also used it when I could tell that my lichen sclerosus was coming on, to kind of settle things down, and it did do its job with that. Another quick tip for helping children with that unbearable itch is to make sure that their nails are trimmed down. So I would trim like my nails all the way down, and I even think it's important to do a file and get those corners just so nothing is able to easily tear their skin. Now moving into helping bring a child comfort, I found it very helpful to wear cotton underwear, not like the polyester synthetic fabrics. Cotton is very moisture wicking, and something about that is very helpful. Also, going to sleep without underwear on, you can still wear like your PJ pants or your PJ dress. Just having no underwear on to allow that extra airflow is also very comforting to me. If you have a daughter, she could wear dresses without panties on while she's at home. I just think that extra flow of air is soothing, like no moisture kind of in that area. Also, to bring comfort to the lichen sclerosus area, I have found it really nice to apply coconut oil, maybe on a daily basis if your child needs it more often. Frequently throughout the day they could even do, but when lichen sclerosus is in a breakout stage, I like to apply a lot of coconut oil in that area, and that creates a barrier, and it just is something it kind of has like a cooling, soothing effect. I think that was really nice for me. I did use Vaseline for a long time, and I wish I had known about the coconut oil because something about that, just when I would use it, felt better. I did use the Vaseline when like my skin would tear open really bad, and so applying that as like a very thick layer was helpful. But now that I'm older, I lean towards using more natural products, just because I think it's also healing at the same time. I have also found it beneficial to tap instead of wiping after I use the bathroom, And so teaching a child that, I think, is really important, at least from my own experience. When I would wipe sometimes during a lichen sclerosus breakout, I would end up tearing my skin. So doing that tapping was really nice. If they have it on their bum area, you may want to use a peri bottle or a duvet to help just flush that area clean. That also reminds me, I like to use a peri bottle full of like an afterbirth sitz bath. And that has like a healing property to help clean that area that's affected. So that's just like a little thing I like to do. Maybe you'd like to try it. You want to use warm water when you're using like that peri bottle, just because that cold might be a little shocking, especially for children. To facilitate in comfort, I also think it's important to avoid high friction activities. And what I mean by that is anything that is going to have like a lot of movement between their legs, if that's where their lichen sclerosus is. So it could be running or riding a bike, just anything that adds that extra, like something that could irritate that skin. You don't really want that. For myself, I have found it very helpful to go swimming. I did a lot of swimming in a lake and not so much in a pool. I did do swimming in a pool, but not as often. But getting in that water just was very soothing, especially when I had lichen sclerosus breakouts. I'm not really sure how like a pool with chemicals would do. I don't remember going in one during a breakout, but I know going in the lake was just very nice and cooling and helped a lot, even with the itch. And that reminds me, going back to like the whole like what is appropriate clothing, I think for when you have lichen sclerosus or a breakout, I would really recommend avoiding pants with like a big seam in it. So jeans, for example, have like a thicker seam right in the like groin and crotch area. I never wore those when I was younger, and it was because those seams would like, they can scooch up and just rub on that wrong spot just the right way where it would be very irritating and hurtful. And so I wore a lot of dresses. Continuing on with emotional support, I know for myself, I never wanted to be different. I did not want to be secluded from activities, or I didn't really want people to know, like, if I didn't do a certain activity, like, oh, she has something wrong. I shared before that I had special privileges in gym class to not do certain activities like the mile or, you know, anything else that I thought would kind of irritate me, but I would do them anyways, and that was really just because I didn't want to feel different. And I think that's important to support a child in not feeling different and not feeling secluded. They can do other activities with everyone else, or even just to know that that might be a feeling for a child. I think that's important for parents to have a little insight on. You know, I don't know the right thing for each child. I just know for me, I didn't want to be different. Going off that, I think it's really important just to keep the matter private and only share it with people that your child has approved for it to be shared with. And that is just a way of showing respect for your child and their bodies and what they're going through. I know for me, like, my parents are amazing and were incredibly helpful with my lichen sclerosus and so supportive. But they would share, you know, I think with just some adults to like hopefully help me what I was going through. But as I got older, I was embarrassed knowing that certain people knew about my lichen sclerosus, and sometimes it wasn't my choice who knew. So just to keep that in mind, I think that is something you might want to consider, is really considering how your child may feel now and later in life, knowing who knows about their lichen sclerosus. The last thing I want to share, of course, is the number one thing that ended up helping me with my lichen sclerosus, and that was finding out what foods I was sensitive to and triggered my autoimmune response, which in turn triggered my lichen sclerosus breakouts. And that is just because lichen sclerosus is an autoimmune disorder that resides in your gut and presents itself in your affected area when your autoimmune response is triggered. And for me, that was eating eggs. So once I found out that triggered my autoimmune response, I stopped eating eggs and I stopped having lichen sclerosus breakouts. I think that is so important to know as a parent, that like you can help support your child, and it's more than just doing steroid creams. You could go to a gastrologist, you can do allergy testing, like just like focusing on your child's overall health I think could be really beneficial. That's what I have to share today. I hope it is helpful to parents supporting their children through lichen sclerosus. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more lichen sclerosus videos. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.